pieces have stretched and staggered. You can see where this one grew, that one grew that way because I had turned it around. I oversized them so that I could square them up after they've been all pieced together. So using a square, you go off your center. Just makes it perfectly square.
So now we're sewing on the rear section of the seat that goes right along the back that is not seen. So it's just a piece of vinyl. And we're going to sew it right to that straight edge that we marked off with the chalk. So now the main seat cushion section where your actual butt goes, you lay it on the cushion and it's going to get cut, and we lay it on there. You line up the center of the seam so that we can put the registration marks on it so that it will line up with the front piece, the piece that waterfalls. So Jim's actually just putting the registration marks in there, and then what he'll do is he'll cut that with scissors and then make a notch. You fold it over and then transfer the registration marks on the other side so that it's symmetrical. So as he pounds it, that'll just put that chalk mark onto the other side, and that piece will line up just like so. You sew it together. So now what we're doing is we're actually going to sew another piece of vinyl to the front of the waterfall, which will essentially create a pocket for us to put some foam in for the bolster, which will go right in here. Okay, so that piece will kind of wrap around there, and then it'll provide us a pocket so that we can make that front piece kind of puff up a little bit underneath the back of your thighs. It also provides another double stitch for that front piece, which makes for a much stronger seam. sew the hardest part, or I should say Jim is getting ready to sew the hardest part. He's got the paper trick down. He's got his registration marks. And this is going to be tough. So he's got his registration marks, he folds it over, and that's where he's going to start. So we sewed up one side, now we're going to test fit it. Fold it on there before we flat stitch it. Just to make sure that everything is looking good. And you can see the front, it's going to come down through here, and this is all loose because there's going to be a bunch of padding that goes up in here to give you your front bolster. I'll poke his hand up in there. And that other little flap, as you can see on that side, we'll glue that down right there, put the foam in there, and then that'll help keep this seam right there from wanting to snake all over the place. And it'll also keep the foam from wanting to migrate for that bolster without having to use any pulls or anything like that. Now we'll sew up the other side. I'll give you a different angle. All these curves trying to line up all the registration marks. Is tough, especially when you want it to be smooth when it's all installed. You gotta move that whole cover over. And you back tack.